My name's Henry. I'm the co-executive director of Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition Action Fund. We're here today because we want to speak to the reality of what is happening here at the Dallas apartment complex, not in some fancy hotel near the airport, and about what immigrants bring to our community here in Aurora. Former President Trump has tried to divide our communities, paint immigrants as criminals. But if you look around this block, and I hope the media covering this will, this is a quiet community street here in Aurora. The reality is that immigrants are a part of our community. Immigrants are facing the challenges that we all face as residents of Colorado, increasing housing costs, in this case specifically, a slumlord who has created unlivable housing conditions. And these are the challenges we all face as Coloradans. Trump's lies are dangerous and dishonest. They seek to drive us apart when we are just trying to find ways to live together as a community. And they're trying to create a reality or paint a picture that's just not true. So we thank you all for coming here. We're going to hear from a number of folks who actually live here in Aurora. I myself just live a few miles away from here, and we hope that the story is actually about the communities and the people living here, and not the lies that politicians are trying to create to divide us and drive us apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Next we have V. Reeves. They organize with House Keys Action Network Denver and have been organizing in this community.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. This is so incredibly important given the context of what else is going on, like we heard down by the airport. So I'm with House Keys Action Network Denver. We are a group that fights for the rights of those without housing, believing that housing is an essential component for survival and not a commodity for the rich. We have been here since the beginning. We first heard about the CBC management situation when a whistleblower from the city reached out and told us that the city was planning on closing down one of the buildings full of 400 different tenants, around 100 children, with less than 24 hours notice, with 3 days in a congregate shelter setting where they'd be sleeping on the floor and given just hygiene packs. And that's how Aurora was prepared to treat these paying tenants after their out-of-state slumlord had abandoned and neglected their building for years. So we are here because without community advocacy, these people, and without people in the community stepping up and being vocal about this situation, we would have had these, again, 400 people, including 100 children, fall to that fate where they would be on the streets. Now, their building did get condemned. We were able to extend it to 6 days of notice, which is still not enough for anybody to find suitable housing, and several weeks in hotel stay and some funds set aside by the city to help folks pay security deposits. These people were still racking up debt from this slumlord who was continuing to charge their online portals. Many of the people from Nome Street still have open online portals where they're racking up debt that is going to affect their rental history in the future, their ability to find safe housing, their credit history, and affect them for a long time to come. So what's happened since then? So with the Nome Street folks, the first CBC management property, a lot of those folks, we rallied behind them and tried to get a bunch of community organizations to do the job that the city should have been doing. But a lot of them still find themselves struggling because it's been now just under 2 months, and without proper resources and support, you're finding folks with children who are registered in schools now living very, very far away in hotels, trying to stay with other friends temporarily and risking that other person's housing, even staying in their cars, and some of them indeed have ended up on the streets, some going to family shelters even. So we now face a real fear that because of this rhetoric and this problematic narrative that has progressed, these people are going to be abandoned in their time of great need, and find themselves on the streets and in very vulnerable situations that make them incredibly unsafe. So now we're fighting to make sure that we stay in touch with those Nome Street folks, keep advocating for them until they can find a sense of normalcy and stability. And simultaneously, we're finding that we're fighting for those under threat of a similar fate here at Dallas Street and also at Helena Street. This is happening faster. This isn't a unique situation. It's happening faster and faster to more and more people, where out-of-state slumlords are taking advantage of those who are the most vulnerable. And us folks here on the front lines, we don't have the capacity to support every single one of them. Between all three of these buildings, that's around 1,000 tenants with hundreds of children. Like I said, registered in school, hoping to continue that, but facing a lot of fear for the future and what's to come. So seeing politicians side with money interests, including these out-of-state slumlords, is incredibly egregious and irresponsible. This is happening at all levels. Locally, we have Danielle Jurinsky, who apparently spoke today at Trump's rally. And we also have Lauren Boebert, who also has been spreading these rumors. And then, of course, we have Donald Trump. Now, these people are more than willing to put the lives of the folks at the center of this issue at the greatest risk with straight-up lies that have been debunked time and time again. They are using fear-mongering to keep us divided. For them, this is an election year. This is about votes. For the people here, this is about their lives. This is something that will affect them for many, many years to come. So how have tenants been affected by this racist rhetoric? Well, a lot of them lost their jobs. Folks who still have their jobs, even, folks who have work permits, folks who have citizenship, those folks have found that their hours have been cut in half. They're being told by their bosses to not let anybody know that they're Venezuelan. Their children are being bullied when they go to school. They have seen their parents standing up and speaking out about the injustices in these buildings. They've seen images of their parents in the news juxtaposed with images of gang violence. And they don't understand what's being said, but they understand the message. We also have people who have been applying for many months to move out of here. Even today, folks desperately coming up to us and saying, we don't want to continue living in these conditions. But when we apply by ourselves, nobody accepts our applications. And we end up spending over $1,000 in application fees, trying to get into every possible place and being denied every time when they find out where we are coming from. People are afraid to be in public. People have been assaulted in the streets for speaking Spanish. They've been harassed on the buses. Women are afraid because men have come up and sexually assaulted them as well. We cannot stand for this mistreatment of our community members.
Yeah.
We cannot stand for vote-hungry politicians completely disregarding their own constituents just to be able to scare people and thinking that they are a threat. These are good people, and they work hard, and they're here for opportunity, and it is not right that we continue to treat them this way. So what do they need right now? As of right now, there is a bank that has taken over court receivership as new owner of some of the buildings. This is because the original owner, Zev Baumgartner with CBZ Management, he has refused to make payments on his buildings, and he has, led to these banks deciding to take over ownership to get back some of that money. Where we thought that these banks would be able to work with the people, they have instead come in, have taken note of the horrible conditions, which include bed bugs, which include, thank you very much, bed bugs, rats, mice, ceilings falling down, floors falling through, no heating, no warm water, people having kitchens that don't function, washers, dryers that don't function. And now this new ownership is asking them to pay the same amount that they were being charged beforehand. In some cases, as much as $2,000 a month for these putrid conditions. They're being told to pay today, and that they will then again owe on the 1st of November, when Zev Baumgartner has made them pay in their portals as recently as October 1st. So here these folks are giving everything they have, and why are they in this situation? Because we don't have protections for them as a city, because the city is not making sure to break down these barriers that these people who are hardworking and willing to pay can get into safe, secure housing where they won't be taken advantage of. They want to be able to pay rent. They want to be able to move forward with their lives and find that stability and to contribute. But instead, they can't get in anywhere else, and so this slumlord is taking advantage of that. So there are some demands directly coming from the tenants in their own words, and I'm going to share some of those with you now. One of them is the city's responsibility to security and building conditions. They say, we want to know that the city hasn't abandoned us. When we have out-of-state slumlords with many, many properties across the state, including Denver, with a lawsuit in New York against him for an infant child dying of lead poisoning, the city needs to stand by the tenants and not by this slumlord. We want to know that the city will come in and help us feel safe. We have had people come from outside the neighborhood late at night with guns saying that they're there to take care of the gangsters. We have had people threatening us personally and saying that they're going to kill all of us because of this rhetoric. We need the city to protect us and protect us now. We need the city to step in and make sure that conditions improve in these buildings for those who do want to stay, because they know how difficult it is to find housing elsewhere. You need to come in and make sure that these conditions are improved before you force them to pay $1,800, $1,850, $2,000 for living in squalor that none of us would accept.
That's right.
They say the second need, the first was city responsibility to security and building conditions. Second, financial constraints and need for resources. They're saying no condemnation without secured permanent housing solutions. Everything is so unclear to these folks, but what is clear at this point is that the city and this new owner are willing to put up notices and force them into a equally unsafe situation and continue what the former owner was doing without allowing them proper time to be able to find those resources again that were stolen from them by the last owner, and without offering them other resources to be able to move, to be able to apply and have support so that they won't be denied again and again. So financial resources and building and the need for resources in general. And we will talk about ways that the community can donate and funds to donate to as well. That's incredibly important. We will be sure to bring it up at the end. So, improved communication and meetings for two-way dialogue. The city has continued to meet with out-of-state slumlord Zev Baumgartner on a regular basis. He has not afforded these tenants the same opportunity. They have met with them once and never had a follow-up and never communicated their plans or what they were deciding with the landlord. At this point, it is wrong that the city sides with these out-of-state interests who are just here to make a profit off of our people, off of our community, and do so recklessly and so violently without listening directly to these folks. They are saying that they want a dialogue. We want dialogue, not just decisions made for us. They want to discuss and find resolutions together. Many of the folks here who have work permits are saying, please hire us. We know what needs to be fixed in these buildings. We have construction jobs. We have the skills. We have cleaning jobs. We can make this place better for all of us. Just support us in doing so. Then they are saying about their tenants' experiences and media misrepresentation. They say it's important that the real story is heard from our mouths. They want to correct the narrative being spread about them. These are workers. These are families with children, kids who go to school, people who want opportunity like the rest of us. Whereas statistics are showing that for every $100 that migrants pay in taxes, $1 is spent on them. They are giving so much to our society here in the hopes of a better future and to make sure that our economy is thriving. And what are we doing to support them? We are displacing them en masse, and we are leaving them to be prey for corrupt people who only look to use them. So with that, I ask you today, especially as media, especially as community members, do your own investigation. Talk to these folks individually. Learn what they're saying and learn their stories and understand their needs. If we don't have as vocal of a voice as the naysayers, as the racists, as Trump, as Jurinsky and Bobart and the likes, then they are going to be the strongest vocal voice on the issue, and we will not stand for that. Now is the time to unite. Un pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Jamás será vencido. Thank you very much. Esto, gracias.
Could I make an announcement? Could you translate it?
What is it?
Someone's car is parked in front of someone's driveway on
Oh, sure.
13th.
Okay.
Message.
Yes, thank you.
If you are at the rally and you are driving a green metallic truck that is parked to the right at Dallas and 13th, that person that lives there needs you to move it. It's in front of their driveway.
Thank you.
It might be someone that speaks Spanish. Literally me.
Okay.
All right, we fixed it. Thank you so much, V. Next we have Will Dempster from the NILC, the National Immigration Law Center Immigrant Justice Fund.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you to my fellow speakers. My name's Will Dempster, and I work at the NILC Immigrant Justice Fund. Ever since he came down his golden escalator 9 years ago, Donald Trump has attacked and spread racist lies about immigrants and immigrant communities. His dangerous attacks on Aurora community members are more of the same. His visit has nothing to do with the needs of our communities. Nothing to do with the needs of our communities. Once again, Trump is only stoking hate and division for political gain. We all remember clearly the intentional cruelty Trump visited upon immigrant communities when he was president, families torn apart, kids in cages, communities living in constant fear. We have to fight back, and we are here to fight back to ensure this never happens again. Trump's promises for a second term would be devastating for all of us, immigrants and US-born residents alike. His plan for mass deportations and the creation of internment camps would hollow out communities in Colorado and across the country and create a climate of fear and chaos. The truth is that immigrants are and always have been a strength to Colorado and this nation. Our communities are not political pawns. We take care of one another, no matter where we were born, the color of our skin, or how much money we have. Trump's tired efforts to spread hate and division have no place here, and we all must reject his cruelty. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Crystal Murillo, who's the Executive Director of the Colorado People's Alliance and also the Aurora City Council member for this ward.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me? Okay, got it. Hey y'all, my name's Crystal Murillo. I'm City Council member of this district of Ward 1. This is where I grew up. I want to just thank everyone for being here. You can imagine it's been a really long week in Aurora with the impending visit and ultimate visit of Trump here in Aurora. Lots of concerns and fears, people asking, hey, are you okay? So we're wrapping up a really long week. So again, I want to thank you all for being here to really hear more about, what was that? Sure, I can do that. This is better? Okay, cool. And then I also need to speak in the mic. All right, we're gonna start this again. Hey everyone, my name is Crystal Murillo. When you have a little energy, you gotta dig deep, and that's what I know Aurora to be. That's what I know this community to be. As you can see, people are just living their lives. We are here, and let's be clear, we are here not because of some fictitious takeover, gang takeover, which, by the way, has been rebutted by our Aurora Police Department several times, right? So if we're not even gonna believe facts, what are we gonna believe? So we are here because of misinformation and lies that have been spread, none other than our very own city council members. The biggest shame, yes, the biggest slap in the face you can think of from this to this community. For the past 2 years, actually past 4 years, but the past 2 years, there have been advocacy groups that have been giving these residents voice to the deplorable conditions that they've been living in. Actually, about a year ago, I toured one of the buildings, and I actually almost fell off the second floor balcony because it was rusted over so poorly. Not to mention the instances of black mold, the respiratory issues that there was a newborn that had a respiratory issue from the black mold. People scrunched in very tiny units because that's all they could afford. Being able to see the text on text of the property management group pushing and intimidating the residents into not complaining. And for the past 2 years, the city has been made aware of these egregious violations. And it should have never got to this place. So there's something broken that needs to be fixed about how the city does business and make sure that we have safe and livable places in Aurora. But that does not even begin to really focus on the real villain here, and that's CBZ management. They have not only done this in New York, they have made it a business practice to take advantage of our most vulnerable communities, and we've seen how other people continue to victimize them. Not only were they in deplorable conditions in advance and still finding joy, still finding time to connect with their neighbors and communities, go to each other's units, have dinner, create solidarity, even through the worst of situations. But not only does this misinformation that's been spread really for political gain continue to further victimize folks. Now people can't find another place to live. They're struggling to find work. And that's the reality. That is the real consequences that our community, my constituents are feeling. There's music, y'all. I'm also processing the rally that happened earlier today and a lot of the lies that were spewed. And it's just really disappointing, truly, to have grown up in this city. I know the city to be, I feel like it's a tale of two cities. The city I grew up in and the city that is being painted right now are completely different. This is a community that people didn't lock their doors because they felt so safe. I know people who still live that way. I don't wholly recommend it, but it's a community where people have built trust. They've built social networks to be able to build a life here for themselves and their loved ones. And really this is just the same tactics that we see every time this year, right? Every 4 years, there's a new group, often our immigrant communities, that is the target. 8 years ago, it was our Mexican community. As a daughter of Mexican immigrants, that was part of the reason why I ran for city council, was to push back and find voice and give voice to our communities, our wonderfully, beautifully diverse communities. And I can't believe I'm back here again, and this time in the most unexpected turn of events. Y'all, I really hope that we walk away from this being very clear about what's going on, right? I don't know about you all, but I don't see us being overtaken by a gang from Venezuela. So let's stop villainizing our most vulnerable communities who really are just looking for a place to build a home and build community, and let's really celebrate. And that's why, again, I'm thankful and grateful for you all to be here, that we get to just celebrate, have fun, eat good food, have music, be in community with one another. That's really what Aurora is about. 1 in 5 in this community are born in another country. So when you think about what this community represents, That's really the unity, the sense, and the depth of diversity that we have here. 160 languages spoken in our Aurora Public Schools. And hardworking people, y'all. People who rely on public transit, who work the laborious jobs in our communities. That's who lives here. That's the people that are also victims of not just the people who live in the buildings, but people who are in the surrounding communities. They've had to deal and put up with this lack of accountability for this slumlord for years, right? And it had to get to a point, an unacceptable point, for something to be done, and to now villainize another group of community members. So thank you all for being here. I hope that I hope y'all stay, talk to the community members, enjoy, break bread, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Crystal. All right, our next speaker is Mandy Lindsay. She is the Colorado State House representative for this district. Give it up for her.
Thank you. Hi there, I got new glasses and I'm trying to read when I'm blind, so bear with me. Hi, my name is Mandy Lindsay. I am the state representative for HD 42, which we are currently standing in. I live a few blocks from here, just up off of 6th and Fulton. This is the neighborhood that my kids have grown up in. A couple blocks over here is Fulton Elementary, where my kids went to elementary school. We happen to live on like the thoroughfare where people walking home from school come and go. So when my kids were younger, we would take that sidewalk all the way up to Fulton every morning and afternoon. My kids are teenagers now, so no more of that. So I just get to watch the parents now that are currently walking back and forth on our street, taking their kids to school. And what I know is that we have the same life. We wake up every day early so we can get our kids up, so we can get them dressed and fed and get their homework stuffed in their backpacks, hopefully have matching shoes on, and get our children to school every day, and then hustle ourselves off to work. And we all do this. And we do this because we are trying to build better lives for ourselves, and most importantly, for our children. We all want the same things. We want opportunity, education, safety, community, family, friends. And the way that we are seeing our community be disparaged by people in power who we put our trust and faith in to talk so badly about our community, and I echo Crystal's kind of feeling of a tale of two cities. I have people calling me from across the country like, what the heck's going on over there in Aurora? And I'm like, you know, it's just a regular place. It's a city full of working class people who are striving for their American dream. And it's really disgusting to have people in leadership in the city council or former presidents absolutely say outright, provably false lies again and again. And the fact that they are willing to do so knowing that that is not the truth, it's very harmful for our communities. We have seen, as Crystal also mentioned, that after all this started going nationwide, we had people making TikToks in our streets talking about how if the police aren't going to take care of it, we are. So we have a vigilante mentality of people who do not live here coming to our communities and having the gall to walk our streets and tell us who we are, coming from suburbs or other places that don't even live here day to day. It's really disgusting. It's unfortunate that we are at this level of political rhetoric that can so easily lead to violence. We know words can lead to violence. We saw it on January 6th, where a bunch of people who have been repeatedly lied to went to a place to commit violence. That's also happening here in a smaller scale. It's also happening in Springfield. It's not okay. We have to do everything we can to combat these lies and defend our city, the place that we love, that I love, where our kids grow up, where our kids go to school. And I just want to say how proud I am to be. I drive up and down Dayton Street 50 times a day living my life. This is my neighborhood. This is where I chose to live. This is where my kids have grown up. They are better for it. The whole world is here in Aurora. And I am so thankful and proud to be a member of this community. I am so grateful to be able to represent this community down at the Capitol. The ways that I try to do that is by lowering the temperature, by trying to combat this really divisive and racist and hateful rhetoric in the legislature. I have some colleagues here who I've passed bills with, Senator Gonzalez, on this habitability issue that try to rein in some of the things that these slumlords are doing and not providing adequate housing for the people in our communities. So I want to say that there is some good work being done. I'm so happy and proud to be doing it in concert with all of the folks here, all of the organizations. Let's keep it up. We are needed more than ever. I love Aurora. Go Northwest Aurora. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Our next speaker is Tim Hernandez. He is a former teacher and a former House representative here in Colorado.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for having me today. My name is Tim Hernandez. I'm your kid's favorite public school teacher and your lawmaker, homie. That's the way I always say it. And actually, I want to ground. I was a public school teacher in the school right up here, Aurora West College Preparatory Academy, 2 school years ago. And I taught students who lived as a part of this community, whose families lived here, whose younger siblings lived here, who ditched school to go home and do whatever they wanted to do, right? Like, and let me be real clear. I now happen to be a state representative, but I do always clearly identify myself first and foremost as a teacher. I care about undocumented people, immigrants, and what have you because of my experiences in my own family and as a teacher. I had kids who walked into my classroom who were undocumented, whose families were undocumented. And so I also, similar to Representative Lindsay, similar to Crystal Murillo and the other folks sharing here, I'm also real angry to hear about the way that people are describing Aurora, who are describing my kids, my students, and their families, who are villainizing folks because they had the audacity to seek something better for their family. And I find a lot of really deeply complicated emotions with it, specifically around the issue of deportation. Some guy came to the hotel earlier today. I don't even want to say his name. He ain't really that important to me. But I want to be real clear. One of his first and foremost leading policies, his supporters are carrying signs that say mass deportations now, where they are seeking to deport members of our community, the people who built these houses, the people who pick up the trash on these streets, the people who serve the food at the immigrant-owned restaurants that those people went to go eat at in Aurora when they were done hating on them at the Gaten Hotel. And I want to be real clear. Mass deportation is a fascist policy, outcome, and choice. It is not a solution to a border crisis, and I think that it is more important that we are very clear that we don't stand on the side of that. We are inherently against that. It is inhumane to separate families. I have sat with students in schools whose families get pulled over for driving without a driver's license and end up in deportation proceedings for the radical idea that they wanted to take their kids to school. And it breaks my heart to think that there are people in our country, there are people in our communities who have some semblance of an idea that the best solution to that is, rather than giving people a driver's license, we went ahead and did that. Let me say that real quick. Anybody in the state of Colorado can now get a driver's license regardless of documentation. Wonderful, beautiful policy. Thank you, Senator Gonzalez. But deportation and mass deportation is not a policy. It's an act of hate. And I really deeply find myself in solidarity with folks from the Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition. Thank you for organizing today, COPA, our faith leaders, and what have you. But I want to be real clear before I get off here. There are 2 things I want to say. Although I'm deeply, deeply enraged by members of the Republican Party and the way that they discuss immigrants, the Republican Party is not alone in demonizing immigrants in our political spectrum right now. We have a Democratic presidential nominee who is also talking about strengthening the border, who is also talking about deportations. Let me be real clear. You are not going to win an election swinging to the right. We should not be swinging to the right on an issue of humanity. You're going to win an election standing on business, standing with people who have real lives here. And the final piece that I'll share with you. As a teacher, I worked with students who were undocumented, who were brilliant but didn't have an opportunity to find stable housing because their parents could not get a driver's license, could not have an opportunity to find stable housing, who could not take out a loan or open a bank account. I had students who quite literally could not work certain jobs because of their documentation status. And so I find a lot of real deep anger in the way that people discuss immigrants, which leads me to my final point with y'all. And it's real simple. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck the members of his party who believe that deporting our community members is an actual solution. And fuck the Republican Party for thinking they could come to Aurora. If you ain't got nothing good to say about Aurora, keep it out of your mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
One more parking announcement? Same exact
One
house.
more parking announcement, same house.
This
So
time,
sorry to the residents of this house.
yeah, this time it's a Honda Civic.
There's a Honda Civic.
If you parked to the right,
What color is it?
there was no.
Okay,
color
if you have a
given.
Honda Civic and you parked in front of someone's driveway to the right over there, please move your car there, trying to get out. Si manejas un Honda Civic y parqueaste enfrente de una casa por allá, por favor mueve el carro porque no pueden salir. Thank you. Okay, wow. Thank you to all our beautiful speakers. We have one last speaker, which is going to be Pastor Tracy. Pastor Tracy is a lead minister of Mountain View United Church here in Aurora.
First, I'd like to say thank you to my fellow speakers and to all of you for being here to show your support and solidarity with our newcomer community. I think I turned it off.
Testing, testing,
I hit it with my hand.
testing, testing.
What row?
No, I know.
I don't know what to say. Okay.
Might have run out of batteries.
Hello, there we go. All right, so thank you for inviting me to be here today to stand in solidarity with the community here in the Northwest End. And I would like to say, based on my 15 years of working with vulnerable communities around the world, including Mexico, Central and South America, working along the U.S. border and leading an Aurora faith community devoted to living its command to love our neighbors as ourselves, I join the Aurora community and its leaders who reject racist lies that can lead to violence against our diverse neighbors. Friends, you have a variety of faith communities that have been joining together to support you, to share with you, and to stand with you as we preach, as we interpret scripture, as we offer solidarity and care to our diverse neighbors. 7 years ago, just 7 years ago, I moved to Aurora almost sight unseen because my research showed me that Aurora celebrates its diverse community members. As a city that has welcomed refugees for over 40 years, Aurora is the most diverse city in Colorado and one of the most diverse cities its size in the nation. Like we heard earlier, there are 160 languages spoken in Aurora. A city where school children are learning side by side with peers from all around the world. Friends, this is how we build God's beloved community, learning and growing together and celebrating our diversity. Friends, after all, don't we know all diversity comes from the very heart of God? I see folks in Aurora on the streets living out God's mandate to welcome and care for the foreigner, the widow, and the orphan. Did you know that there's at least 22 scripture verses in the Hebrew and Christian Bible that teach God's imperative to welcome newcomers and treat them like members of our own nation and to love them as God loves each of us? And that's just 22. In Aurora, we care for our neighbors, no matter where they were born. And we continue to care for their families as new generations are born here. Through our work accompanying diverse migrant communities, we can affirm that when we see a newcomer as our neighbor, it strengthens us. It strengthens our community, and it strengthens our city. But we can also say when we see the newcomer as a threat, it weakens our community, and it gives rise to divisiveness, and fuel systemic hate, discrimination, and racism. We will not stand for this language and this violence. I stand with my diverse neighbors and community leaders to say hate is not welcome in Aurora. We are diverse, we are strong, and we are united. We will rise together to answer God's mandate to welcome newcomers and accompany them as they make Aurora home. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much to our speakers, to everyone who's here. We want to send a message of the true Aurora, who we are here in Aurora, here in Colorado, and that we will stand with our neighbors. We're not going to stand idly by while Trump or anyone else tries to remove families, remove parents and children from their homes, because this is their home.
Right.
I want to invite you all to stay, get to know people here from the community of Aurora. We're going to have a cookout. We're going to have music. That's what this is about, is grounding ourselves in what this community truly is. Also just want to say, if you would like to donate to help the families that have suffered, the families that have been victimized not only by Trump, not only by the slumlord, right, but have been victimized by this increase in hatred. If you want to donate to those families to help them find housing, right, help them get to their next place, we have these little cards that we'll be handing out if you'd like to donate and support. Thank you all so much for being here. Please, please stay, enjoy the celebration of what Aurora really is. Gracias a todos por estar aquí. Por favor, quédense y vamos a celebrar lo que es Aurora realmente. So thank you all so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Martin. Yeah.
Do you want to take questions?
Yeah, we can take some questions.
Yeah, if anyone here wants to answer questions.
The question is reaction to Donald Trump.
This is just another example of Donald Trump's divisive, hateful policy and policies that he's pursued ever since he entered our political system. This would tear communities apart. It would do nothing to keep our communities safe, and we have to fight back against it with everything that we have.
Any other questions from press? Okay. If press want to do interviews with folks after, just catch us and ask. But thank you all so much. Really appreciate y'all coming out.